everybody, this is Feng Zhu speaking here with this week's Design Cinema. And as you can see, this week we're doing something a little bit different. We're actually going to film this episode and show you guys a little bit of the traditional media as well as the drawing techniques and the equipment we use to produce the conceptual art. For some very basic drawing tips for you guys, because I get a lot of questions about how do you draw straight lines. And I think I did this for the Noman DVDs before, and I'll share it with you guys here. One of the things we stress a lot is you got to draw with your elbow. The wrist is a very, very minor movement, right? This movement with your wrist. And you make a lot of mistakes sometimes drawing with the wrist because there's a lot of movement going on here. With the elbow, you actually have a very natural pivot that if I simply just drop the pen and draw, you see that it creates a very nice arc. And it's very, very even. All right, this pen is a little dry here. Let me switch to another pen here. Wow, all my pens are drying up. Since I haven't used these guys for 7 years, they're pretty dry. As you can see here, it creates a very natural arc. All right? And what we want to do is practice that. Let me go back to my high-tech C. As you can see, as I swing, the lines, if you control it, could become very, very straight. That you're making parallel lines. If the ink comes out, they are very, very straight. And you can actually get to a point where you're drawing extremely straight lines like this, freehand, right? Without the use of a ruler. And they're also very parallel. And this is, see, the elbow never moves. I mean, the wrist never moves. It's always on the elbow. So you just swing. And this takes practice. This takes a month of practice. But once you get this, the movement is exactly the same on a Wacom tablet. So, and that's how a lot of us are able to draw precise straight lines without the aid of a ruler or holding shift or any kind of tools in Photoshop. It's just completely free-handed, as you can see here. Right. And what I do is I just spin the canvas. I spin the canvas to match the angle of the lines. Right. This pen is very, very dry after it's about 7 years in hibernation. Oh, it's starting to come back to life now. The ink is now flowing out. Right, so I'll do a few more and I'll show you guys how to do some other forms. Right, so this is generally just using the elbow. Of course, when we draw life drawing and things like that, you want to be very free. And what I do is I just hold my pen. Let's go to a different paper here. Right. Say you're drawing a creature or something. I like to hold my pen very loosely and have the pinky be in control of your drawing. So if I'm drawing a little creature and things like this, right, very gestural drawings. And have to tap your little pinky down to sort of control those lines. So this way, even though this is a permanent pen, the movement is still extremely gestural. Right? So you go from drawing something that's very, very angular, very mechanical, to something that's very, very organic by just changing the stance. But notice the wrist still doesn't move. The movement is coming from the elbow. Right? I'm shifting my weight of the elbow to move these lines because what you want this kind of energy in your penmanship. Right? Drawing with wrists, what happens is a lot of the energy sort of gets lost. Right? So this is sort of that. But we could go straight back and draw some very mechanical shapes again using the elbow again. And now draw some ellipses. Ellipses being one of the hardest shapes to draw. And just like drawing straight lines like this, by moving my elbow, I could draw ellipses. Like so. Right? And notice the wrist doesn't move. The wrist stays in exactly in the same location. Even for little tiny shapes like this, the wrist stays still. They could get big, huge, very big ellipses. See? And it's a very difficult shape to draw, but with enough practice, you could do it. And this kind of skill carries over directly to the Wacom tablet. Right, so like this, draw like that. Right, and then go back and practice straight lines. And this is how I spent my career for the first, from 97 or so, all the way to about 2003, drawing on paper just like this. You know. And another thing is, another quick tip that we use, you notice all the pens we have here, all these microns and the high-tech Cs and these big big giant markers and this. They're all permanent. All these pens are permanent. They're not pencils. This is something that I was taught when I was in school, because when you have a pencil, you tend to have an eraser that goes with it. And when you have an eraser, you could then get rid of mistakes. For example, I don't draw this well, I could get rid of it. But that means you just do the same thing twice, right? So by not having an eraser, we just draw everything once, and that's it. And you draw everything once, and you draw it precise. And this is more of a production type of thinking versus artwork related thinking. So let's go back and just sketch one more thing here. Let's draw, go back to gestural. So go from here, this, to now holding a pen like that, using the pinky as a balance tool, and your penmanship is very loose, but the freedom is still being held on. Alright, so let's draw something just very, very organic. You see the flow, very nice. Alright. And notice the distance I sit from the piece of paper, if you can see that, is very, very far, right? Your eye is about a foot away from the paper, right? You don't want to be up close like this, because you want to be able to see your silhouette. You want to see the design. Draw big, don't need to be very, very small on the page, and build that confidence up. So now I'm just babbling some random shapes. Let's turn that into a engine or something, right? And this is, this is it. This is all the equipment I use. It's very simple. The marker stuff, maybe I'll go over in another video. Right now, I just want to focus just on purely the pen and the paper. Right? But surprisingly, the paper that I use the most to draw is actually just plain copy paper versus these kind of sketchbooks and these kind of things. But while we're here, show you guys a little bit of sketchbook stuff. So you can see this one's completely filled up, just a few pages left. This is all Star Wars stuff here. Some of these have a ton of notes on them. You can see the Star Destroyers in here, and some of the Grievous stuff are showing through here. Phone numbers, robots, notes for all the things we have to do on the project, right? And these are the same kind of thing. Even though they're very small, the way I drew these is still with the elbow, right? Horizon line, right? I did a lot of environments on this film, so it's all environment drawings. And then just start drawing like this, moving your elbow around to get the designs. Alright, cool.